According to ancient runes, in 800 AD, Eric the Viking kissed the missus goodbye, jumped into his longship, and set sail from this very harbour to pillage Britain.
1,200 years later, it's payback time. And I'm about to raid Oslo, only armed with some knives and some frying pans. That should make them shudder in their horns and shiny helmets. Anyway, head on home, James, would you? Time for the pub. Thanks very much indeed.
Welcome to Oslo and have a nice day.
Thanks a million.
One of the things you soon realise about the people of Oslo is that they love the great outdoors. And who can blame them? In how many capital cities in Northern Europe can you soak up the sun on a beach, go boating and sailing, hike through the stunning hills and forests, and go skiing in winter? And with less than 500,000 residents, about the same as Brighton, everything is within easy reach. My first stop in Oslo is this magnificent traditional wooden building, the Holmenkollen Park Hotel, where we will look at some traditional Norwegian dishes.
Long, freezing, dark winters and short, hot summers have created a very curious method of food preservation here in Norway. They have salting, smoking, marinading, burying things in the grounding, however you say that. And the result of this is you get some very, very curious flavours.
The first time I ate whale was in the Arctic Circle, on a boat. And it was a horrible, greasy, nasty, soupy, stewy stuff. But this way, it's more like a steak or more like liver. It's actually quite palatable, although of course, many people watching this programme don't approve of whale fishing, I know.
So we've got a couple of interesting dishes here. First of all is the whale, simply pan-fried with fried onions. But then, much more interestingly, air-dried cod. This air-dried cod was then soaked in a potash solution, which here is birch ashes and water for several days to reconstitute it. Then it's washed and dried, and by that time it's turned into a kind of jelly. That may sound very strange, but the curious gelatinous texture of the fish is really quite delicious, and it's served simply with cream sauce, lardons, mustard of two kinds, and this curious sweet Norwegian cheese. Then, I mentioned that the burying in the hole type of preservation, well, this is often done with lake fish like a trout or a char. Now, what would happen in olden times, when the lakes were frozen over, they would drill a hole in the ice, hang a hook through it, and catch the fish. And if they caught lots of them, they would take them home, cover them in salt, cover them in sugar, put them in some kind of container, dig a hole in the ground, and leave them there for 2 or 3 months. Now, of course, this is done commercially, and they're prepared in that way and left in refrigerators at about 4 degrees. The result is a wonderfully aromatic kind of fish, a bit like, if you like, gravlax. And that's served with sour cream, beetroot, bit of dill, and some onions, and eaten with this, not to my taste, kind of crisp bed. Then, very typical of the area, we have a simple but local dessert, would be fresh cloudberries with cream, or a little mousse of lingonberries. And talking of moose, or reindeer, or venison, or elk, I have some here, cut up into thick batons like that. I'm going to cook it with some lovely chanterelles picked from the forest around here, some fabulous smoked bacon, and some shallots, and some creme de cassis. Already here in my pan, in a little bit of butter, I've sweated down the lardons and fried them with the shallots. And now I'm going to tip those into my other saucepan over here. They're pretty much done. I'm going to transfer those into this pot, saving the bacon fat and the butter mixture to cook the chanterelle in. Then add the mushrooms into that. The chanterelle comes straight into here. Coat them with the bacon fat and the butter. And as soon as the mushrooms have taken a bit of colour, rejoin them with the onions and the lardons. This is an autumnal or early winter dish, and the colours are very autumnal, I feel. So that's good. We'll let that cook gently away over there now while I find my glass. I'm going to drink something called rotvin today. I didn't know they made wine in Norway. Anyway, a little bit of butter into my pan here, and add in the strips of meat, which should sear very, very quickly. Now these want to be cooked quite pink on the inside and a little bit crunchy on the outside, so they cook very, very quickly indeed in a very hot pan. just need to... You see, they're now seared as I turn them over. And you're also getting some excellent juice from the venison. Again, we'll season them with salt and pepper. And when seasoning meat of any kind in a frying or grilling situation, you never add the salt or the pepper until the meat is sealed, ever. Now, we'll add a little creme de cassis. In fact, then add quite a lot. Creme de cassis, blackcurrant liqueur. Now, before that liquid can in any way spoil the meat, we'll take the meat right out. Otherwise, if you leave it too long in the liquid, it'll become tough. Right, put that there. Now we'll add a little drop of water to that, just so it doesn't burn too much. Turn the old gas right down. Now at this stage, you're meant to add something called, well, a demi-glace. This has been reindeer bones and onions and wine being stewed away for hours and hours and hours, but the chef made it here for me. But these days, you can buy this stuff already in supermarkets, and quite honestly, it's good, and it makes cooking much easier. And as long as you put lots of creme de cassis and season it nice, it'll work very well. You stir that in until you have a nice, rich sauce. So the final thing now is to add some fresh thyme and some fresh rosemary to the mélange of shallots, chanterelles, and give them a stir with the gardons, just to give it a good flavour. Right, next we'll place the meat on the plate. And I think we'll build a little Norwegian log cabin with those. That's nice and twee, isn't it? And we won't waste this little bit of extra juice that has come off the meat in its own time. Then we'll add our sauce. Pour that over it, like so. Which is rich and fabulous. Then this wonderful mélange of autumn chanterelles, wonderful Norwegian bacon, beautifully smoked, and also the nice fatty lardons. And by the way, it's quite good about the lardons being fatty because the venison or the moose or whichever game animal you're using has no fat in it, so it gives a nice flavour to it. So that can go there like that. And I was going to serve some celeriac chips with them, but as you can see, they're completely knackered, so they're going in the bin. Is that okay?
Oslo has produced many famous people. Edvard Munch, famous for his painting The Scream. Thor Heyerdahl, who crossed the Pacific in 1947 on a piece of balsa wood he called the Kon-Tiki. Ibsen, the playwright. And Gustav Vigeland, Norway's most sensational sculptor. This park contains nearly 200 of his works in bronze and granite. The most controversial being the 14-metre-high monolith depicting a tangled mass of 121 entwined figures. And they've clearly had a profound effect on this young couple.
Whether you appreciate the sculptural symbolism of man's mortal struggle from life to death, or whether you've just come to look at the naughty bits, one thing you can't deny is they are bloody brilliant.
In the last 15 years, Oslo's harbour has been transformed from a shipyard into one of the most fashionable areas of the city. An apartment here can set you back 25 million kroner. That's about £1.8 million to you and me.
Oslo is undoubtedly a charming and a pretty city. The natives are friendly, and especially here along the waterfront, it's really good fun. But one thing which might put you off a little is the price of this. A glass of beer will cost you nearly £4, and a bottle of ordinary wine, £20 in a restaurant. And that is down to the fact that Norway's government has draconian anti-drinking laws.
Don't expect to pick up a cheap bottle of Burgundy at the supermarket here. Buying alcohol is much more complicated. The only place you can buy wines and spirits here to take home are in the state-run shops known as Vinmonopolet. These are open from 9 till 5 during the week, lunchtime on Saturdays, and not at all on Sunday.
Thank you. But you know, it gets worse on Sundays. Even as a resident of a hotel, you can't have a spirit. But
Hip Potion whiskey. So that's your requested, sir.
thanks very much.
Do you have some cream to go with that?
No water, please.
Okay.
You see, I have a way around this problem.
There you are.
Thanks very much. I had fresh fruit for breakfast. I just add the water, and now a little digestif of whiskey.
I'm happy to say, though, that since my last visit, the government has relented a little, and spirits are now available from 1 o'clock on Sundays, and so they should. Many are willing to risk the wrath of the law for the sake of a drink. So I've come to a secret location on the outskirts of Oslo to meet a man called Sven, who must, of course, remain anonymous.
Good dag.
God dag, velkommen.
In remote cabins in the woods and in gloomy basements in the towns, the Norwegians take great pleasure in doing something which is not only illegal, but dangerous. And in fact, it can cost them their lives should they blow their houses up. So this is where my old friend, who we shall have to call Sven, makes his hellish potent brew. In fact, it's not much different from making ginger beer, really. I mean, it's only yeast, sugar and water. But Sven, how do you know how powerful it is? How strong is this particular one?
We can measure it. This is 96%. This is as strong as it gets.
I think, oh my God, I'm going to try this. But I know, I've been told, that the way to drink this, if you drank this 96%, I mean, you'd be out of it. So they put a silver coin in the coffee cup, pour black coffee on the coin till the coin disappears, which has now disappeared. Then you add the moonshine just until the coin reappears. And there it has. So now I'm going to taste it. Oh my God! That is something else. That is. Why has it all gone dark? Anyway, hopefully I'll see you after the break.
Lovely.
One of the best ways to see Norway is by boat. And since 1856, this fabulous paddle steamer, the Skibladner, took passengers and goods from Oslo to towns further up Lake Mjøsa, which is 117 kilometers long. Today, of course, she, with great dignity, earns her living from tourists. However,
The reason that this magnificent old vessel is called the Skibladner is because of what lives within what it floats on, what's in this wonderful old lake. It is this, these fabulous little freshwater herrings. Thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, this was a salt lake. It was a loch running right to the sea. But times changed, it closed up, became freshwater, and these fish adapted to become a relationship of the grayling, which is also related to the char, to the salmon and to the trout, but ultimately to the herring. They're delicate, they're sweet, they're succulent, and although they're now not so, how can we say, there aren't quite so many of them because they like them a lot and they catch them a lot, they're very delicious fried in butter. And here is one, which is good. You can also get them in tins with tomato sauce.
if you get up early enough, you can buy some superfish from these little boats virtually in the centre of town.
Can I buy an eel, please?
You will.
Oh, the biggest you have?
It is, yes. 125?
Another good place to find fish is in the forest.
Thank you.
Yes.
All over Oslo, outside restaurants, hotels, even private houses, and throughout Norway for that matter, you'll find these little bogs on fire. Although, in fact, it's not a bog, it's a smoker, an ideal way for preserving food. Which could be, of course, meat or chickens, eels, sausages, but in this case, it's the ubiquitous salmon, the lax as it's called here. Now this has been marinated dry in salt and sugar for about 3 days, then it's washed off, allowed to dry for 2 days, and put in this, which seriously damages your health, smoker for about 10 hours.
This is a cold smoker, which simply means the smoke has cooled before it comes into contact with the food. How it works is really quite simple. There's a small fire here at the end of the tunnel, made of oak chippings, oak dust, and flavoured with juniper. The smoke travels up the tunnel and into the smoker where the salmon are sitting. Right, I've got my ingredients, so I'm off to one of Oslo's most famous and possibly oldest restaurants to cook it. The Frognerseteren, known affectionately as Frogspawn to the crew, is in the hills behind Oslo.
There are some wonderful things in Norway, and in Oslo in particular. There's delicious smoked salmon, there's fabulous smoked eel, smoked mackerel, gravlax, which is in fact salmon but with dill marinated with sugar and salt, beautiful prawns, and freshwater crayfish. So I thought I'd assemble the ultimate assiette nordique, or as we say down Bristol, seafood platter. Right, now I quite like thick slices of smoked salmon. I like thick. I don't like those mean little ones that you can see through. So I put that onto there first of all. And we've got some spectacular slabs of locally smoked eel. We'll put there. Incidentally, the magnificent potato salad in the middle of this dish was made by my chums at the restaurant here, and it's boiled potato, mayonnaise and dill, and it's dead delicious. Then we've got some smoked mackerel, which is that way, but I've taken the skin off the other side so I can cut quite a large piece of mackerel from there. Just place that down, I think there. I'll take out the bone here, take off the skin, and put the other piece around there. Excuse me a minute, Mike, I'm just going to have a quick slurp. Right, got that. Then, one of the things they're very famous for around here, and throughout Scandinavia, are freshwater crayfish. Usually cooked in beer, onions and dill and allowed to cool. And that's what we've exactly done with these. Then we brought some magnificent prawns, put those onto there as well. Then we rolled up some gravlax, salmon cured in sugar, salt and dill. Then we need to make a few little garnishes and dressings. Quite a nice one, if you can see into there okay. Sliced cucumber, just sprinkle it with sugar and then tip over some balsamic vinegar and leave that to marinate for a moment or two while we make the other dips and dishes and stuff. Then, sour cream, pure dairy sour cream, freshly grated Norwegian horseradish, straight into that. And this will be the best horseradish sauce you've ever tasted. No other addition from that, just the grated fresh horseradish. Place that there like that. Then, using some chopped gherkins and some chopped capers and some mayonnaise, stir that into the bowl as well as an accompaniment to the oily fish of the smoked salmon and the mackerel and the eel. So there we have that. Let's put that there for the second. We can get rid of those. Then we'll have some just plain mayonnaise, properly made with egg yolks, olive oil, lemon juice, and beaten by hand in a tinned copper bowl at room temperature. And if you believe that, you'll believe anything. Right, then another little garnish I made. I got some red onions, chopped them up very finely, and boiled them in balsamic vinegar till you had this almost piquant onion relish. That's another part of our little feast, which we might put there. We think it might be quite a nice idea. We can put some lemons on, there and there and there, and some limes. We might take that away now because I can fill that hole up with lemons and limes. It'll look much more attractive that way. And finally, we can make a little salad using just olive oil and then some balsamic vinegar, simply tossed. And I think that over there. And I'm having the caviar, eggs and the wine. Thanks very much. That's my salad nordique.
The summers are short in Norway, so the people of Oslo make the most of them. Every weekend they escape the city and take to the water, heading for the islands scattered around the Oslo fjord. In 1923, poor families in the city were given plots of land on these islands to use for recreation. But today, the small wooden cabins now change hands for up to £150,000.
Enough of that. This next delight, in front of this spectacular view of houses who have their lawns on their roofs, is a very simple fricassee of squid, potatoes and peppers.
first of all in the pan down here, I've got some sliced potatoes frying gently in olive oil with some lardons of smoked bacon and some onions. So I'll mix all of those together. And now I'm going to add some red peppers into that as well. Stir that around. And as soon as this is just halfway seized, we add in some fish stock. Now, I've made this, as you would expect, properly from fish heads and bones and stuff. There's nothing to stop you buying a packet of fish stock in the supermarket. At the end of the day, it's very much easier. I believe they're like that. Meanwhile, in pan 2, we fry some more onions and peppers, but this time with a few diced tomatoes. There's my lovely plastic spoon. It's very, very quick cooking. Now for the moment, we're putting that to one side, down there, and then into this pan with some more olive oil, quite a lot more olive oil. While we're waiting for that to heat up, we now add some cream into here, hence the fricassee part of it. Just let that cook nicely away. Right, let's hope that's okay. Now, in the meantime, I'm going to fry some pieces of squid. Calamari, in fact. Frying away there like that. Now, I can't emphasize enough, the oil must be very hot. Good, the squid is virtually cooked, as you can see. And over here, the potatoes and the cream and the fish stock are cooked. So, a fricassee of squid and potatoes. Sliced potatoes fried with bacon, peppers, onions. Then on top of that, you put some quickly fried squid garnished with basil and coriander. Simple and very delicious. Unlike, say, Dublin, Oslo isn't the ultimate weekend city for a stag night out. But once you've got over, or indeed recoiled from the price of booze, come to terms with the fact you can't smoke in many public places, and accepted that the Norwegians are not standoffish, they are indeed very friendly and very polite, then Oslo has a great deal to offer. It's a really wonderful, gentle, kind, smashing place, and I'll certainly come back again.
Counting down the top 10 dangers at sea in half an hour here on Extra. First though, it's Sky Travel Shop.